I was born into a normal middle-class family. My father worked in an office where he earned an ordinary amount of money compared to the work he did. He overworked to make sure that my siblings and I could have a decent lifestyle. My mother was a high school teacher. She also worked very hard and did everything she could for her children. My parents are my real inspiration. They worked so hard, but they never complained. They just wanted to see their children in a great place. Seeing their efforts filled me with the urge to do something great in my life. I wanted to pursue my dream of becoming a surgeon and make my parents proud of me. I knew it would take a lot, but I was not afraid to work hard. I worked hard day and night, and finally got into the best medical school in the country. Life in medical school was hard. The studies were arduous. They required consistency and hard work, but I loved every day I spent there, knowing that every step I took brought me closer to the dream I had been chasing for so long. The exam season was the hardest. We stayed up all night and had to study hard just to pass the exams. I could only function on coffee. It seemed like there was more caffeine in my veins than blood. One night, I was leaving the dorm looking for a good coffee when I ran into Linda. She had a coffee in her hand. I went up to her and asked her where she got that coffee at this time of night. She smiled and told me she knew a place nearby. She offered to take me there, and I accepted. We talked on the way. She said she was a third-year student. I was in my fourth year. She said she couldn't function without coffee in her system. I told her I was the same way. Why else would I be out looking for coffee at this time of night? We bonded so much on that short 5-minute walk. Linda took me to a little coffee shop. It was a cute place. It was so close to the college. I wondered why I had never been there before. I thought I had tried coffee at every place nearby, and this place was completely unexplored by me. Linda ordered for me, and as much as I hate to admit it, the coffee rocked. I just fell in love with the coffee and the girl who took me to this place. We walked back to the college sipping coffee. I hesitated, but finally asked Linda for her number and if she was single. Linda smiled and said that she was indeed single. I went back to my dorm and saved her number. I didn't text her right away because I didn't want to sound desperate. Then I completely forgot about her because I was too busy with my exams. A month passed. She must have been busy too, because it was that time of year. One day after exams, I went to the coffee shop that Linda had introduced me to. She was there unexpectedly. I took out my cell phone and texted her. We sat down and talked a lot that day. I called it an unofficial first date. Linda disagreed, but that was what I called it from that day on. We started dating and things went well between us. Linda often came to me for help with her studies, since I was her senior. I guided her well and always looked out for her. Seeing her every day was a blessing, I thought. We had a good time. I moved on to become a neurosurgeon and Linda became a physician after we both completed our residencies. I proposed to Linda. I thought we were done with our training, and now we could start our life as husband and wife. I really wanted to marry her, and hoped that she would have the same enthusiasm that I had. It was becoming impossible for me to imagine my life without her. I planned a big proposal. It took a huge chunk of my savings, but Linda deserved this and more. I booked an entire floor of a hotel and made preparations. I had it decorated. It was all very elaborate, but I wanted everything to be perfect for her. I called Linda and asked her to come over. She did, and I proposed with my heart beating as fast as it could. Linda had tears in her eyes as she nodded yes. I started to cry too. It was just too overwhelming. We were married within a few months. After our wedding, we moved to Canada, as Linda and I both wanted to. We began to live happily there. We bought our own house. We worked in the same hospital, which was so cool. Having your wife as a coworker is amazing. I got to see my parents a lot because they lived nearby. I was the happiest person there. Things were going great. I felt very complete. The only thing I wanted was a child of my own. I wanted to be a father and give my child the whole world. I shared my thoughts with Linda, but she hesitated. She said she was not ready. I could not force her, of course, but I asked her why. She said she wanted to get better in her career and work some more before having a child. She said she wanted to be a mother who would be there for her child, and that was not possible now. I respected her opinion and stopped bringing it up. I decided to be patient and wait for when Linda was ready. I have never been the kind of person to make decisions alone, excluding my partner's choices and opinions. In Canada, I also reconnected with my old friends. I found out that my best friend from school, Robert, lived on the same block as us. It was the best news I could have received. I reconnected with Robert. Robert introduced me to his wife, Jessica. Jessica and Robert invited me and my wife over for dinner. They wanted to get to know us better. I also wanted Robert and Linda to get along, so we went over to their house the next weekend. We all talked and joked a lot. Robert and Jessica seemed to get along well with Linda. His wife was nice too. When we got home that night, I asked Linda if she liked my friends. Linda smiled and said they were great. She assured me that she was glad that I had found my old friend. She said she was happy to have met them. It relieved me because I was already worried about Linda not meeting many new people. She just went to the hospital and came home. She had not made any new friends since we moved here. It felt good to know that she was connecting with Jessica. As time passed, I began to see things changing for the better. Jessica was very happy in Canada. She said she didn't miss home at all. She had made some good friends. She was also very close to Jessica. Jessica was her best friend here. They hung out a lot. Linda would go over to her house when I was busy at the hospital. It was a relief to me to know that Linda wasn't sitting at home alone doing nothing. But after a few months it started to bother me. Linda hardly ever stayed home. She went to work and hung out with her friends. She always had to go shopping or meet a friend or go to the movies. Our schedules were different, and I got off work late, but she got home even later. She never made it home on time. I did not say anything because I wanted her to be happy. I kept quiet and hoped that she would get it and manage her schedule, but she did not seem to change at all. Finally, I brought it up with her and told her one night that I needed to discuss something with her. I brought up the fact that she was out all day and came in late at night. I did not get to spend any time with her. At first, Linda completely denied it. When I kept insisting and not letting it go, she said she would try to be home at night. But she said I was too sensitive and clingy. It hurt to hear her say that to me. I wanted to argue with her a lot, but I kept quiet, hoping that she would change without me having to remind her again. For a few days, Linda kept her word and came home on time. She spent a lot of time with me and changed her attitude a lot. But a month later, Jessica invited her to her house for tea. From that day on, Linda's routine went back to the old one. She began to neglect me and stayed in her own world. This time it made me angry. I made up my mind to argue with her about it, but I didn't. One day Linda told me she had to go to the movies with Jessica. I came home that night and Linda still had not returned. I called her several times, but she did not answer. I started to get worried, so I decided to call Jessica since she was with Linda. Jessica answered the phone and greeted me. I asked her to tell Linda to pick up my phone. She said Linda was not with her. I told her that Linda was supposed to go to the movies with her, but Jessica said that they hadn't made that plan. This was suspicious and disturbing. I was still thinking about what to do next when the doorknob turned and Linda entered the house. She came over and hugged me and said hello. I kissed her back and asked how the movie went. Linda said that she and Jessica enjoyed it very much and that they had a great time. I gave her a look but said nothing. Linda was lying to me, and I needed to know why. What on earth was she hiding from me, and where had she been all this time? Linda asked me if I had eaten dinner, and I said that I had eaten it earlier with Mary, my coworker. Linda rolled her eyes and said she was going to the bathroom. She never approved of me hanging out with a girlfriend, and I always respected that. When Linda went to the bathroom, I quickly snuck into her phone. I had to find out what was going on. I looked at the texts and saw that the last person she had texted was Robert. Their conversation horrified me. Linda had been with Robert, not Jessica. She was cheating on me with my best friend. I took some screenshots to prove it and sent them to myself. The next morning I called Jessica and asked her to meet me. I told her it was urgent and not to tell Robert. We met in a cafe that evening. I told her to get ready for what I was going to tell her. I showed her the screenshots I had taken of Linda's phone. She started to cry. She said that Robert had been absent a lot lately. He had told her that he was busy at work, and she had never suspected anything else. She trusted him blindly, just as I trusted Linda. We sat there for a long time and decided that we would get our revenge together. I told her to think hard and let me know if she had any ideas. She randomly suggested that Robert is a very jealous and possessive husband. He would be very hurt if he found out that Jessica had cheated on him. That struck me. Linda is that kind of woman. She gets jealous right away. She would lose her mind if I cheated on her. I said I'd think about it, and we'd talk about it later. I went home and thought about it all day. I decided it was the perfect revenge, and I should definitely do it. The next day, Jessica and I met at a hotel. We had revenge sports, and it was actually good. You know what I mean? I had a good time. We took pictures. We took a lot of pictures in a lot of different poses and positions. We all looked happy. We sent those pictures to both Robert and Linda. We both talked to lawyers and filed for divorce as soon as I sent those pictures. Linda called me. She was screaming on the other end of the phone. I wondered why she was so shameless. She had done worse and blamed me endlessly. She called me the worst things. I wanted to do the same to her, but I knew it was not worth it. I just ended the call without saying a word. I left her house for good and moved in with my parents until the divorce was final. I met Robert once and punched him in the face. I expected him to retaliate and hit me back, but he did not. He just walked away. It seemed like he wasn't really ashamed of what he had done. But he deserved that slap more than anything. After the divorce, I looked at my life differently. I focused on my work more than ever. Keeping busy distracted me from grieving and thinking about my past. Still, it was really hard. The memories kept coming back. I also missed Linda because I had been with her for a long time. But eventually I healed and moved on with my life.